Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Yahoo Footballing Weekly with me, author and Yahoo columnist Neil Humphreys.
And Yahoo editor Chia Keong and our special guest, Stickman. No, we'll have a special guest later, but no.
Are we not going to reveal it or announce it?
You want to announce it?
I think we should because we want them to keep watching.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, one very famous former Manchester United player came to Singapore last week. And we got a chance to interview him, Michael Carrick. You all know him.
Yes. If you don't know him, he's a West Ham United legend.
West Ham.
And England. Apparently he played for some other clubs.
Yeah, like...
Not bothered. Not bothered.
Yeah.
So Michael Carrick will be joining us in the podcast shortly. Before we get to that, thank you for all of the comments that you continue to write into us every week on all of our social media platforms. We really, really are grateful. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
But I want to say this right at the top of the show. Please subscribe. That's the important thing.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
You will know about the release of the podcast straight away. You'll know when the new editions are coming out, the new shows. Please subscribe to this show. Thank you for the comments. Let's kick off with some of the comments from last week. We'll kick off with Mook. Great name, Mook. Great name, Mook. Mook says, you'll like this one.
Yeah.
Disband the young lions. Unless FAS think that getting them thrashed week in, week out is good for development. Disband the young lions. What do you think?
So the context is, in the past month, I think, the young lions have really been... whacked left, right, centre. To put it left, right, centre.
There's no nice way of saying it.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got the results here. Their last result against Tampines lost 7-0. Keong 3-0. Tampines again 1-0. Hougang 5-1. Lion City Sailors 10-1.
Yep.
Albirex Niigata 7-1. I mean, in two games they've shipped 17 goals.
Yep.
They beat Tanjong Pagar before that 4-2, but it's defeat. And not only is it a defeat,
bottom of the table,
heavy defeats.
very heavy defeats recently, and they just lost Ilham Fandi. Ilham Fandi signed for Albirex about in April, and they just couldn't score anymore.
Right.
They lost all the scoring touch. So we all know that young Lions for the last 15 years or so, they've been in the Singapore Premier League trying to act as a kind of development for the young kids. But the thing is that they keep losing, and then you wonder how it's got to do for the psychology of the players. These are ones who have to be confident enough to lead the Lions in the future. Going to things like the AFF Mitsubishi Cup. And now they have all playing we keep on losing. I don't know how it works for them. Yeah.
Look, we had Eric Keong on the show a few weeks ago, the team manager of Singapore, and he talked about the difficulty in just getting players week in, week out. They have school commitments, they have national service commitments and so on. I have stated on this show and in my columns, I will not, where possible, criticise the 11 boys on the pitch.
No, they've done all they could.
Why?
Yeah.
Because they're actually playing the damn game. They're there, they're playing, they're committing, they're achieving the best they can.
Absolutely.
However, I do think the Young Lions was set up with really good intentions to give young boys regular exposure to first-team football every week against decent opposition. Yeah. However, with the inclusion of Albirex, Lion City Sailors, the gulf is getting too wide.
Yeah.
So you do wonder, I agree with your point, you do wonder at what point does it become counterproductive? It's one thing to have experience, but getting whacked every week, 7, 10, it's self-defeating. Exactly. Why not keep the core of the side, but then spread them out? Take the best of the young Lions and then send them to this team and that team. Yeah. Surely they would get better experience on the bench, on the squad, with Lion City Sailors, Hougang, Albirex, and the other sides in the league, Tampines.
And it's good to see that the standards of those SPL clubs are actually on the rise.
Yes.
Keong are doing well. Tampines Rovers had a stint at the AFC Cup, and they also did well. Tanjong Pagar and Hougang, on their day, they are a pretty decent side.
Yep.
And that's how much they have progressed throughout the years when the young Lions are with them. And the young Lions, because they keep on because once they get over 23, they move to other clubs. So they don't develop. They got keep on turnover of talents. all the youngsters coming in. So their standard is always at that much only.
Yeah.
And they can't let's say go any further. I think the best they got was under Fandi, and then there was fifth. It was fifth or fourth only. So yeah, like I agree with you. Spread them out into the clubs. I think the clubs are good enough to carry on their development really.
And that's that point. One of the criticisms of the Singapore Premier League is that there's not enough talent to go around.
Yeah.
So they either get sometimes foreigners who are not of the highest caliber to make up the numbers. Well, I might have to agree with Mook on this one.
Yeah.
At some point, we do have to consider disbanding the young lions, spreading our youthful, limited talent pool amongst the other Singapore Premier League clubs and let them get their experiences with Tampines, with Hougang, with Lion City Sailors. Are they going to play every week? No. So yes, that may have some impact on their confidence. But is it going to have any more impact than losing 10 or 7 or 6 or 5? At what point do you have to say, this isn't working anymore?
At least they're enjoying some victories and then they feel good and then they can motivate them to carry on.
You're part of a winning squad. You're part of a winning mentality. You look from the senior pros. What's the guy at Lion City Sailors? The $1 million man.
Lopez.
Right, so you look at someone like Lopez, you look at his skills, his training ethic, the way he performs, the way he plays, the way he eats, the way he sleeps, and you learn from them.
Look at Ilhan Fandi. In Albirex, immediately he's surrounded by as good professionals, and suddenly he keeps scoring.
Yeah,
That's the how it is. That's the way you want a player to develop. You see.
Yeah.
A good enough player joins a good team, professional team, gets better.
I'm kind of with Mook on this. Are you?
Yeah,
I love the young lions.
It's
I love the ethos. I love why they were set up. The thinking behind it.
They're not blind. You see.
Exactly.
Yeah, the fans are. Yeah.
They know at some point you have to say this isn't working anymore. Michael, what do you think? Yeah, he agrees.
Yep.
Right, what else have we got? Peter, what else? You got some more you want to read out
he
there?
immediately wants to predict the season. It's just 6 games in, but he's going to go with the prediction. My prediction, number 1, Man City. Not surprising. Number 2, Arsenal.
No.
After this week, maybe not. 3, Liverpool. 4, Spurs. I mean, I can understand where you're getting. This 4 looks very on paper pretty good, but you never know right now.
Yeah, but Peter, thanks for that. But I've noticed you've missed out one particular team, which leads me on to the West Ham. Yeah, the Legends team, West Ham. You've left out Manchester United, which at the start of the season would have been a bit of a joke. They're flying. And I've got a comment here from Lemonade Bay. Great name, Lemonade Bay, as a comment to my Yahoo column, which is available now on all Yahoo platforms, about Marcus Rashford. And she says, I've always liked him too, Marcus Rashford. His first 3 games for Manchester United this season, what a start. I wanted him to become MU's all-time goal scorer. Not sure now if he'll do it, but let's hope. Very unlikely.
Nice. Wow.
Very unlikely with Wayne Rooney and so on way ahead. But just briefly, his brief renaissance has been one of the most positive stories of the season.
Yeah.
I love Marcus Rashford. I love what he's doing in the community, his social enterprises, his charity work and so on. And the thing about Rashford is he's not Zlatan, he's not Ronaldo, he's not Rooney. He just doesn't have that temperament. He's not going to be in the dressing room, demanding to play in this position, or he just isn't built that way. He just isn't built that way.
Yeah.
And I've never felt he's been served, his talents have been served appropriately until possibly now. Yeah.
I mean, he came into prominence with Louis van Gaal, and and after that, you go through so many different other managers like Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho, like you said in your column, prefers a stronger Zlatan kind of striker.
A Drogba type.
Lukaku, the kind of striker. Fair enough. And then he is shunted to the side.
Yeah.
Which may be good for his development at that point, but it doesn't make full use of his talents, which is eye for goals. And then Ole comes in, struggle a bit more, and the whole team was struggling at the moment, directionless. And then at the start, Eric Ten Hag don't know whether accommodate Ronaldo or accommodate Rashford.
Yeah.
And now after that 4-0 defeat by what was that team?
Brentford.
And then Ten Hag make the decision. Well,
And you're seeing it. He's meant to be a striker. He's meant to play through the middle. He will miss chances. But he's got to be in the position to miss them first. I mean, give him a chance. Let him have a run. He's still got the pace.
Yep.
He's still strong. And his finishing is actually decent. I think he's going to be up there, playing up front, centre forward, for the foreseeable future. I really, really do. And you know what frustrates me about Rashford? If you compare the coverage he gets in certain right-wing tabloids in the UK compared to, say, the very positive coverage that someone like Jack Grealish gets. Everybody loves Jack Grealish in England. He's everybody's favourite cheeky chappy. He's a party boy. He's good for fun. He's good for laugh. Funny haircuts. Long hair like our director. Wears hairbands like our director. And everybody loves Jack Grealish. That's fine. But I would love to see an analysis done of the kind of publicity that Grealish gets over a period of time compared to Rashford, and then compare the two players. I know who my role model would be.
Do you think Rashford still gets stick over that penalty miss?
Yes.
That's what I feel also.
And some of it was racist. I've seen it. That's not an allegation. I've seen it. I mean, you missed a penalty in the Euro final. Of course, it's going to stick with you. Then he had some niggling injuries, which he couldn't help. And he did lose his form and confidence. It happens. So I really, really hope he's a Renaissance man now and he really delivers for Man U this season. Now, what is not delivering this season? VAR.
Wow.
What do you think?
We tried very hard for the last 5 episodes. We're not going to talk about VAR, but wow, this week it's just exploded in the Premiership weekend. It's just, I think there were 4 instances of goals being chalked off, and then you can debate all you will about it, but the sight of people cheering, the players cheering, everyone cheering, and then suddenly they realize, oh no, we got to wait for VAR. And then you see the referee run all the way to the dreaded screen. And then everybody's like, oh no, this is what going to happen, isn't it? And then when it happens, it blows and then it's disallowed. And then everybody's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, where's the fun in it?
I agree. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. But just to give you a good example of it, of how messed up VAR is, right? So West Ham, Chelsea. Chelsea went up.
Shocking.
I was watching it live. Chelsea went up 2-1 in, I think, the 90th minute.
80th,
I went to bed. I was throwing a remote at the TV. And that's it. I'm off to bed. 2-1. They lost. I get up the following morning. I switch on the Star Hub highlights, and I thought, okay, I'll have a quick look at the extended highlights. 3-4 minutes. 2-1. Then it goes 2-2, and I call my daughter in, and I say, they actually got an equaliser. I can't believe it. They actually got an equaliser. And I call my daughter in to watch. And then I see the VAR come up. And I said, well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because it wasn't a foul. Mendy came out. He fell over. He lost possession of the ball. And I think it was Bowen.
Yeah, Jared Bowen.
Just falls over him. Yeah. It's clearly a goalkeeping error. There's contact. But just in case you didn't realise, football is still a contact sport. It's not basketball. You are allowed to touch each other.
Even basketball, you could touch it.
To a degree, right? So he goes over the top. No problem. I said to my daughter, well, that doesn't matter. There'll be a check, but the referee will still give the goal because there's clearly no foul. When he disallowed that goal, Keong, there was nothing left for me to throw at the TV. And that's the moment, and it's not because, West Ham. That's the moment I felt the game is gone. As I understand it, the game is gone. And this is why. VAR, as you said, VAR is leeching the soul from the game, right? Because what is football in essence? It's emotion. That's the number one indefinable quality about the game. That's why no TV series, no Hollywood movie has ever truly replicated the feeling of football. There's never been a classic football movie like a baseball movie or a golf movie. You can't replicate the emotion. Why? Because it's spontaneous, it's visceral, it's natural, it's spontaneous, it happens on the spot. Now, you are asking fans to put that on hold, to park it, to wait. You can't do that. You can't say, wait, don't celebrate because it might get disallowed. Okay, it didn't get disallowed, now you can celebrate. Well, then it's not joy, it's relief. It's an entirely different emotion. You are literally taking away the very essence of the sport itself, which is natural, pure, raw emotion. And that's why VAR has got to go.
I totally agree. I haven't seen any of my friends, fellow fans who who was supporting VAR all the way through. They always give a bit of caveat here and there. Here's the thing. You want to introduce something which double checks on an error, potential error. But you're putting in another human being in charge of the equipment, all the cameras. That's another element of human error you are introducing in.
It's always going to be ultimately down to human error.
So and then it gives the managers another way to say, because of VAR, that's why we lost. And then it goes back to the old. That was why we originally wanted a sort of a camera check because people are saying, this is unfair. There was the referee was didn't make the right decision, but you bring in another human being, and then it's sort of like, there's two referees you can blame right now.
And it's not just another human being, it's the geek, the technocrat, the kid who never played football at school, the kid who got his head shoved down the toilet.
Correct.
This feels like Revenge of the Geek, right? The kid who couldn't make the school team is now controlling the biggest league in the world. He's sitting there with his data and his stupid rules and lines and geometry sets and all
millimeters of that's
What is the ruling of VAR, Keong? Clear and obvious error. Simple rule that has to be brought in straight away. If you don't scrap it, 60 seconds. That would be my absolute maximum ruling. Yeah. If you can't decide within 60 seconds in your geeky VAR room if it's a clear and obvious error, then it's not a clear and obvious error. Yeah. Therefore, you just stick with the referee.
Like your West Ham case, there's no clear and obvious error.
It took 3 or 4 minutes for them to decide. Yeah. They took a while. Then the referee needed 6 or 7 replays before he made his decision. It was at least 3 or 4 minutes. Then you disallow. It took you so long, so many people, then it is not a clear and obvious error. So the referee's initial decision must stand.
Yes.
And there are going to be human errors. We've been talking about it and arguing about it for 100 years in pubs and coffee shops all over the world. That won't change. But when the geeks, the technocrats, are sitting there looking for whether this elbow hair here strayed into an offside position, let the game bloody play. For God's sake, sitting there worrying about elbow hairs. What is this? Yeah. You are taking the emotion out of the game. You are making it a technocratic experience, not a natural, visceral experience. And it's just wrong.
And one more thing, I get a feeling that when referees go to that dreaded screen, they are under a bit of psychological pressure, Should I make sure that the VAR person is correct? He must be correct.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have to go to that screen.
Correct. 100%. And then 100%. And I don't blame the referee for that. Once they go to that monitor, the pressure to overturn their decision must be huge because, like you said, psychologically, they must know something I don't. Yeah. They have access to different camera angles and geometry sets and maths geeks that I don't. They must be right. I don't think I've seen anyone have the balls to say, I'm going to stick with my original decision. Very few.
Yeah, very, very few. So, that brings another element of, error into it, sort of, because you're under psychological pressure.
Yep.
So...
Anyway, you can see what we think. Michael agrees. He keeps nodding. Michael Carrick, he's nodding along. He agrees with every word. What do you think? VAR, good, bad, revise it, scrap it. I mean, you know what I think. You know what he thinks. Yeah. Send in all your comments and questions for next week's show to Michael. Pay attention.
Subscribe to Yahoo YouTube channel at Yahoo Southeast Asia, or you can go to Twitter, Yahoo SG or Yahoo_MY. Or you go to TikTok, Yahoo SEA.
Brilliant. And here's the reason why you subscribe. Because not only do you get us every week, you get legends like Michael Carrick. West Ham, Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur and England. He was all right, wasn't he? We sat down and spoke to him this week.
We spoke to him and then he was quite candid with his ambitions to actually managerial ambitions now. You can have a listen to it later. Yep. So, and he was very open, very forthright. I think we got quite a lot of him.
Yep. So this is what we had to say when we sat down with Michael Carrick. Enjoy. Right, Michael, thank you for joining us on the Yahoo Footballing Weekly podcast. Let's start off with the coaching. You've played for many great coaches at West Ham, Tottenham, Manchester United. What would you say you learned from each of those coaches?
It's interesting actually because I think sometimes you learn without realising you're learning. I get questions now, or being in certain situations, I end up doing things or saying things, and then think, what made me think that? And then you kind of go back, oh, maybe that was because he'd done that or he'd done that. So sometimes it's you learn without realising, but I think you learn from every coach. You learn some good things, you learn how to do things, and maybe how not to do, or how I might not do things. You know, you get a right mix. Sir Alex, obviously, for his man management and leadership, was the best by a mile. Incredible man, and it doesn't really need much explaining. I think we all understand that. I learned a lot from Louis van Gaal, tactically, and kind of a different side to the game that we hadn't really maybe seen up to that point. And every manager at some point I learned something from, just some more that stand out than others, you know.
And how was it different between club coaches and international coaches? Obviously you played for England as well. How was the coaching style different between the two?
I think international is a lot more short, sharp, intense. Club, you know, it's prolonged. It's a bit more of a dragged out affair. It's a bit more of a marathon, and you can't be so intense every day. Otherwise, that's one hell of a long season. Whereas internationals, if it's 5 days, then they need to get the information across quick. So it's quite intense. A lot of information at times. So it's a very different style of not just coaching, but actually as managing as well, to get the boys quickly into gear of, you're not at your clubs now, this is it, we've got a game on Saturday and you need to be ready for it, and it's very different to what you've just had for the last 3 or 4 weeks, you know.
Right. You obviously, when you are in a youth team, you make the switch from centre forward to midfield. So what kind of advice would you give for, you know, coaches who spotting talents, and how do you get them to change their tactical positions, you know?
For me, it's only my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but I think growing up and development as younger players, I think it's very difficult to put yourself in one position. I've seen it so many times that players end up becoming and they're playing in a certain position, but when they were younger, they didn't play that position. So I think to not get so focused on what position is he, I think that develops, that happens. Sometimes it changes. I think it's more about developing the football, the understanding of the game, the technical ability and game awareness, and then the position will kind of find itself out like that. I think it's I moved back from centre forward to midfield, and then end up playing holding midfield and centre back certain times for United. So I think it's more about developing the understanding and the skills and the natural ability, and then you kind of adapt to where your strengths are after that.
Speaking of transition, you know, you transition from player to manager, and I often wonder, people here do that. They start off as players and then they become managers. You did it for a brief period at Manchester United. How do you make that transition from being their teammate to being their boss, to being their manager? How do you do that?
I coached in between, so there was a bit of a little bit of a crossover time, and to be honest, towards the end, I was an old man. I retired at 37, so there was boys in the team that were 19, 20, 21. So there was a natural kind of I wouldn't say disconnect because I was in the squad, but there was a natural kind of progression where I wasn't into or doing things that they were doing. So I was kind of in the changing room. It was find the right time to move on. So when I went into the coaching, it was a balance, you know. I couldn't still be the best mate in and around the changing room, but then I didn't want to be that one where all of a sudden I treat them like I've never played with them. It was a fine balance, and I was quite conscious of that. And to be honest, they were good. The lads were good. They respected it when I had to be in certain roles, if you like, you know. But it is a balancing act. It's a juggling act. And then obviously being when I had the little spell as manager, by that stage, that was 3 years down the line. So I had kind of established that little bit of a, I don't know, cut off or disconnect, if you like, you know.
Right. So I mean, so where do you see yourself heading next? You know, do you want to try out hand as a Premier League coach again, or international coach? Or
I really liked the management. I enjoyed it. I know it was only 2 weeks, but I really enjoyed that side of it. So maybe at some point, yeah, depending on opportunities and it's difficult to make a plan in football. You know, it depends which jobs become available, which kind of pathway you end up taking, and if the timing's right, if it's not right. So, but I can only go on with what I've done. Really, I enjoyed the coaching, but I did enjoy the role of management that little bit more. If something comes along, then at some point, yeah, for sure. But I'm definitely not chasing it, and I'm not desperate for it right now. But at some point, yeah, it would be good to have a go.
But it's so tough now, Michael, isn't it? It's such a results-oriented business. You look at Scott Parker, who did you play with him at England?
Scott,
yeah, I thought you played with him at Scott for England. It's so tough now for young English managers to even get an opportunity at the higher levels of the English game, and then to stay in a job. I mean, what is your thoughts on that? Do you think it's tougher than ever now to get an owner or to get an employer that will give you that chance, give you that opportunity?
To be fair, I think there's been a decent change in that over recent years. You got Scott, you got Stevie at Villa, you got Frank at Everton, and who have had a number of jobs between them already. So I think there is a bit of a change in terms. Before that, it was really hard for young up and coming British coaches or managers to get a chance. But yeah, the trick is staying in the job, and that's football, and I think that's just life in general now. Everyone wants it now, instant, and no one's the patience. You see it in society, you know, patience, the levels are going down and down. So I think it's natural. It's not just football, but for sure it's the challenge of results. It used to be maybe 10 games, now it's dropping down to 5 games, to 4 games, and you can have one bad month and things can change. I think Lamb's had that at Chelsea a little bit, where they were doing really well, and I think he spoke about it himself, and then 1 month almost flipped it. And I think as coaches and managers, we all understand that's the business and that's how it works. We'd all like a little more time and patience, but that's just the way the world's going, I think.
So why do you still want that kind of job that gives you the adrenaline?
It's got to be the most stressful job in the world, isn't it? I mean, you
it
go week
probably
to week,
is.
game to game.
In some ways it is, but I think when you're in it, it feels different. You're in that bubble and you've got that belief in yourself. I think if you ask every kind of elite coach and manager or player, that you've got to have that belief that you can do it and you can achieve it. Because there's plenty of people that won't have the belief in you and questioning you and doubting you, and you get that. I've had that all my career, so you kind of get used to it. And it's having that channeling that focus and drive yourself to want to achieve and be the one that wins something, be the one that achieves that or makes that player better. And that's just, you've either got that inside you, I suppose, or you haven't. It's a challenge. It's a massive challenge, but it's that bug that we all kind of love.
Especially now when it's so unpredictable. I mean, just taking this season, how do you see this season going so far? Because Manchester City, fantastic, but leaking goals at the other end. Arsenal top of the table, Tottenham are challenging, Chelsea are thereabouts. It's got to be one of the most unpredictable open seasons in recent years.
To some degree, yeah. I think we're a month in or something at this time. I think experience of watching and being involved in the league for so long, I think you'll still get the same faces at the end. I don't think
a big blonde bloke with a ponytail, probably there or thereabouts.
I think it's you're going to be Liverpool, City. You could Tottenham will be strong, Chelsea will be strong, United's up there, Arsenal's up. I think you're going to have the same faces. How close that all ends up being, we'll have to see. But for sure they'll all be up there at the end of the season.
All right, last question then. You came through, luckily for you, the greatest academy in world football, of course, West Ham United. So knowing that, what would be some of the tips that you picked up at that academy, going through West Ham's academy, that you would pass on to the folks at JSSL? What would be some of the key youth academy tips that you would pass on?
Yeah, I always, people ask me this question a lot, and it's always a difficult one.
I thought it was the first.
So I'm not saying you've repeated it, but you've heard it somewhere else. But I think it just boils down for me to enjoying your football, to enjoying it, to be passionate about it, and to enjoy it, do with a smile on your face. I think any profession or anything you do, and if you're doing it and you're happy doing it, you end up putting more into it. And I think work hard. Sir Alex used to say it to us every single game. Don't be ashamed to work hard, be proud to work hard. And I think it's such a simple thing, but people find it hard to keep working hard. And I think if you're the one that can keep going and keep going and keep going and enjoying it, eventually you'll get where you want to be. That's not technical. It's not tactical. It's not. It's just the basic foundations for a career. And listen, be a sponge. Listen. Filter the right information. What you think's going to work for you. Everyone's different. Everyone's individually, personality, character, physical. You're all different. So you've got to filter what suits you, what doesn't. But always be prepared to listen. So I'd say, enjoy, work hard, and be prepared to listen.
Well, just last point of that, because a lot of Singaporean, Southeast Asians are taking part in JSSL. The biggest problem we have in this part of the world is balancing studies with sports training. Similar in England as well. What advice would you give, or what were your experiences of doing that, of balancing the football training with the school studies?
Yeah, it's a challenge. My parents were really strong that if I didn't get my results at school, I wouldn't be playing football. So they were really believer in that, so that I wasn't getting carried away with football and just thinking I'm going to be a footballer, because let's be realistic, it's just a very small chance that you actually will become a footballer. So they were really kind of kept me grounded and saying, no, you need to get this. And if my results weren't, once or twice it was touch and go, and they were threatening that football would stop. So I think it's a fine balance, but you got to be passionate with what you do. You got to be passionate, and you got to be realistic. That's the biggest thing. Don't get 8, 9, 10 years of age thinking I am going to be a footballer and that's all I'm going to be. That you got to be realistic and give yourself the chance to do different things. But whatever you do, and be passionate about it. That's the biggest thing I'd say.
Brilliant. Great stuff. Michael, thanks for your time, my friend.
Cheers.
That was fantastic.
Thank you very
so
much, guys. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, I think Carrick was a good guest for a while, and then
Only for a while.
about 10 minutes. We were like given 10 minutes, and then okay, quickly
We squeezed about 15 out of him.
15 out of him. Yeah, he was very friendly. And
But the
kind.
most interesting thing to me was he was pretty adamant. He wants to go back into coaching, because when I asked him about young English managers not getting a chance, he was very quick to say, no, we do.
Yeah.
There's more in the game now than there has been for a while. So pretty obvious where he wants to go.
Yeah, I think he knows the pitfalls that come with managing, especially as a young English manager. It's kind of now it's getting better. The likes of Graham Potter, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard getting their chances. Although they get under pressure straight away, but he says he likes the pressure.
Yeah,
he enjoys that kind of adrenaline. I think.
Yeah.
So I think with that ambition, I think he will definitely go into management one of these days.
Yeah.
Although I find him a bit withdrawn, a bit sort of like not.
But
that
that's with us,
outspoken. But,
his persona is going to be different in the dressing room. Right?
I'm sure he got.
I like him. I think he's a very likable guy. He's
thoughtful,
probably my favourite creative midfielder of his generation.
Underrated.
Very underrated, because he came just after Gerrard and Scholes
Lampard.
and Lampard. I thought he was a superb player, and he kept that latter stage Manchester United under Ferguson together.
Yeah, he
without
had
a doubt.
Darren Fletcher in the centre, and then they
Superb.
control the midfield.
Superb.
And then he's sort of like a deep lying playmaker.
Yeah.
He doesn't go forward that
Yeah.
much, but he sees the pitch very well and then makes the right passes all the time.
The cliche holds. If he was Spanish or Italian, I think we'd be saying, why don't we produce players like Michael Carrick in England? We did, and he wasn't used properly. It was a scandal how we didn't play more games for England. But I tell you what else is a scandal. Liverpool. That was a shockingly poor segue, but never mind. What do you think about your team, man? What's happening with Liverpool? There's all the think pieces are coming out. All the commentaries are coming out. Is this the beginning of the end?
Why is Salah being shunted to the right flank and then not cutting in?
All right, so why isn't he? You're the Liverpool man.
I think the whole team is like still just trying to get to know each other again. It's all like, Nunes is new, and the midfield is a bit like you got Elliott and you got Fabio Carvalho also new, relatively. So I think this is really a transitional season. Before even the season started, there's a lot of talk in the Liverpool fan forum saying that we're gonna really miss Sadio Mane, and I think to an extent
They have.
that we have missed them because last time when other defense when we play with Mane on the left and Salah on the right, the opponent's defense is all who are we gonna be? Sorry,
Michael.
sorry, Michael.
You just punched Michael in the face. Look, I know you're upset as a Liverpool fan. There's
it's
no need
blue-black
to
already.
punch Michael Carrick. He was such a nice guest to us. Sorry, Michael.
So defense are was stretched to the limit when there's two very quick players on both flanks. But now, okay, Luis Diaz is still very good, but I think he's not as clinical as Mane, and that works. And if he keeps scoring, if he starts to score in abundance, then maybe the defense will have to be more aware of him. But right now, he's not scoring efficiently. In a sense, he needs a lot of chances to score.
Yeah.
And you just cut down the chances, and there you go. So that 0-0 against Everton was a dampener, and now we are like 7th or 8th place, like maybe about six points behind Arsenal.
Yeah.
So it is definitely a worry, increasing worry about that Liverpool are not going to be able to challenge for the title right now.
Well, on that point, I was reading that, as we know, you need to win about 90 plus points, around about 90 now, which means you can only drop 15 to 20 points in a season, right? In an entire season. Liverpool have already dropped 9.
Yeah.
And they've only played one of the big 6, the top 6. It's not good. I agree with your point about Salah. I think there's 2 things about Salah. The first thing is you can't underestimate. He's had shocking disappointments this year on the personal front. He narrowly missed out on World Cup qualification in the playoff, I think. Plus, when he plays for his nation, it's a very different setup. They're much more defensive. They hit on the counter. He very rarely gets the ball. You know, he's chasing lost causes for Egypt. Plus, they had the African Cup of Nations disappointment,
Lost
which
to
is
Mane all the time.
exactly, which is why Klopp gets so frustrated about a mid-season tournament. He feels like he was doubly punished because he had a number of African players and he lost them in mid-season. Salah hasn't been the same since he came back from the African Cup of Nations. That's the first point. The second point is, you're right, the style has changed. They've lost Mane. Mane used to do a lot of the heavy running, right, which allowed Salah to come in behind. He used to love to cut inside from the flank. He can't do that as much anymore because now they're feeding balls into Núñez. Understandably, he's a bigger, slightly more conventional target man. That bypasses Salah a little bit. So I saw here, Jonathan Wilson in The Guardian was writing that Salah's, since Núñez arrived, Salah's shots per game is quite a bit down. It's gone down from 3.9 to 2.83 since the African Cup of Nations. So that is a statistical, measurable decline. And I don't really see that changing too much because of the way Liverpool are now playing.
Yeah, and then so that there comes there's this online criticism. I would say trolling, that saying, "Oh, Salah just signed a new contract, comfortable contract, is getting too comfortable." You know, sort of like what happened to Mesut Ozil or Aubameyang. But well, I disagree. I think the whole team is trying their best to fit to a new kind of attacking style. It takes a while for them to gel completely together, and this means that this season might be pretty tough to if Man City are to run away straight away, it's gonna be tough.
Well, let us know what you think. Mohamed Salah, can he get back to his peaks before the African Cup of Nations, or is this part of one long, interminable decline for the fallen giant that is Liverpool Football Club?
Oh.
Let us know your comments and send them to.
Yahoo Southeast Asia on YouTube. Subscribe to that. Follow our Twitter, Yahoo SG or Yahoo_MY.
You've been very aggressive, like you're pointing at them. Subscribe.
You must
subscribe.
Okay,
but you must subscribe.
Yeah.
You should.
TikTok, Yahoo SEA. Just follow us. No worries.
Yeah, and thank you for all the TikTok views and responses. We seem to be more popular on TikTok than, I don't know what, a K-pop star. I don't know. You need to get out more if that's the case. But thank you for the support on TikTok and all the platforms. All right, let's bring it home. Local football, Singapore football. Talk about something positive, Han Keong. Come on.
So how about a new book? This book, Raw Football Legends of Singapore.
Zoom in, director. Zoom in. There you go.
This book just been released by Page Setter Services. So it is a book by this longtime fan, Tiaga Raju. We call him Uncle Raju.
Uncle Raju, yeah.
Since the 1970s, he's been painstakingly, lovingly compiling all the statistics of all the matches all the Lions matches he has been. And now he finally said, "Oh, you know what? I want to publish a book." And with the help of editor Gary Cole, they published this book. It's almost 100 years of Singapore football history from the 1920s until the current age. So, I mean, if you want to, if you keep on hearing your grandfather or your father saying, the past, the football and the footballers in the past are so great, and you wonder why. This book is a great place to start.
Yeah.
All thanks to Uncle Raju.
I like Uncle Raju. He said very nice things about my columns. He reads them every week.
Yep.
He's a good guy.
Us.
He does follow us, yeah. He's a good guy. It's a good book and do read it. Now, I want to stay with local football for a moment because there's a very interesting story that happened in Malaysia this week.
Yep.
Pahang FC midfielder Lee Tuck has become a naturalised Malaysian citizen. English-born, born in Huddersfield. He's just recently become a Malaysian citizen to then, I assume, become part of the naturalisation process and will eventually play for Malaysia. So in Malaysia right now, they're having the debate again about the foreign talent scheme. Should they naturalise foreign-born footballers to stick them into the national side? He's not the first. I think there are 2 or 3 others currently involved with the Malaysian squad. Foreign-born, naturalised Malaysians. What do you think on that?
Well, Singapore has actually gone through this also with, Alex Durick, to a lesser extent, Ekmal Goncalves, Marco Grabovac, Itimi Dixon, I still remember him.
Abu Kashmir,
yes, Nigeria. So I think now it is the whole debate will arise every time the Football Association decides to, this guy should be good enough to naturalize, and I think a lot of Southeast Asian nations are currently doing it. Indonesia and Philippines.
Philippines are doing it in a big way, yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't matter even if you live in Philippines, as long as you have some Filipino descent, you can be staying in the Europe for all your life. If they want you and you agree, you immediately get your Philippine citizenship to play for Philippines. So that's how Philippines have improved in their standings for the past 5 years in football. They're now pretty decent side in the AFF Cup. So, well, I think the Filipinos are less debate. There's less debate in Philippines over this. They could, because they're seeing the results. But for Malaysia and for Singapore, there's always the thing is that why are we using foreign talents when we have quite a lot of local players whom you should develop instead of doing this like a very quick solution like so there's a lot of debate and there's each good and each bad and I feel that if you want to naturalize a player, he must be so good that it just ends the argument right there.
Yeah.
If let's say I want to naturalize a player right now, he must be better than the Fandi Sons.
Yeah. I actually thought you were going to say something else. When you said if you're going to naturalise a player, I agree with the talent part. I thought you were going to say he must be a part of the culture for some time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for example, Daniel Bennett is a perfect example. He's been here since the time he was in diapers. Daniel Bennett has been here since he was a toddler. He's a Singaporean as you and Jay, the director. No issue with that.
Same with Alex Durick.
Alexander Durick completely immersed himself into the culture, became a Singaporean in every way, shape and form. It works.
Even the latest one, Song Hui-yong, the Korean, who was from Korea, and now he's a naturalized Singaporean, plays in midfield, has been here for 10 years before he decided to get a citizenship.
That's different. Yeah. The quick, short-term, quick fix foreign talent scheme doesn't work, in my opinion, and it shouldn't work, and this is why. There has to be, I've always believed this, there has to be a spiritual connection between the footballer and the fan. There has to be some kind of umbilical cord. You must look at this footballer and feel, we said about emotion, you must feel he is one of us. I see myself in him. Whether I'm an old man, a young boy, I see that guy on the pitch, that Singaporean line, and he's one of us.
Precisely.
You can't do that with a quick fix, foreign talent scheme. It has to be over a period of time. What you really want, if you're going to unleash the raw, then you need to build from the bottom up.
Right.
develop your youth academies, develop your young players, and hopefully get them into the national team. Send your foreign players like the Fandis on overseas stints, get them training overseas. That's the way you do it. You unleash the raw. You don't unleash the foreigner.
Well, that's the one way to put it. I think that's true, and especially in Malaysia and Singapore, where the history of football is so ingrained. We just talked about this book, 100 over years of football
Exactly.
in Singapore. There's such a rich history, and you're right. It's there's the umbilical cord between football.
Gotta have it.
You just need to light a spark. That last
have it.
last week talked about it. Light the spark, and there'll be fans. You see, so that's the difference between us and maybe Philippines. Philippines football is not their major
Correct.
sport. Basketball.
There's not that emotional connection
there's
to the
much
sport of
emotion.
football.
So, while you put in the foreign talents, they say, oh, okay, well, that's fine.
I agree.
But not Malaysia and Singapore,
Correct.
when you have, where you have kids from the young, they know about the history of football, and then they try all they want to represent the country, and by suddenly putting a player, just parachuting him into the national team, the kid must be thinking, well, what's the point of me playing football?
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly that point.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll always be exceptions like Bennett and Duric, and they're always going to be welcome. But you've made the key point there, Keong. We say on this show every week, it's about pathways. It's already hard enough for the average kid to overcome the Kiasuism, the study, sport, balancing act. If he sees a side, or his Kiasu parents sees a side with half a dozen foreign-born players, the parents going to see?
What's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
Play for what? You can't get in because they've got half a dozen Angmors, half a dozen Africans, this, that, and the other. You have to see a pathway. You have to see the Fandi brothers in the national team and say, that could be my son or daughter.
Absolutely.
That could be me. Unleash the raw. Don't unleash the foreigner. That's that's my tagline.
That's another tagline for you.
Unleash the raw. Don't unleash the foreigner. But what do you think? Should we focus just on Singaporean young players, or should we integrate foreign talent?
And
It's
how
always a
best-
contentious issue.
If you really have to integrate foreigner, how do we integrate them together?
Exactly. And let's send all of your comments, all of your views last time to
Yahoo Southeast Asia on YouTube, Yahoo SG or Yahoo_MY on Twitter, Yahoo SEA on TikTok.
Yep.
You can now repeat in your sleep as well.
Yeah. And please do subscribe. I'd like to thank our wonderful guest today, Michael Carrick.
Hey, nice meeting you, man.
Yeah, great job, man. Probably been one of our best guests.
Oh, quiet and
Yeah. Most of all, I'd like to thank you for watching every week, for subscribing. Do keep sending in your comments. Thank you very much for watching and listening.
thank you very much. See you.
Unleash the raw.
Unleash the raw.
Don't unleash the foreigner,
Not a foreigner.
says the young boy.
See ya.